The main focus of this lesson is on linking those short but important 1, 2 or 3 word phrases which join your ideas together. By the end of the lesson, you should have a clearer idea about how and why linking devices are used, the major categories which linking devices fall into, and at some of the most commonly used linking devices in academic English. In academic writing in particular, the ability to link your ideas together is absolutely critical for the flow and cohesion of your essays. Commonly used linking devices such as however, although, because, and firstly, secondly, thirdly are all necessary to help you move from one idea to another and to show the relationship between different ideas. Their central importance in academic writing can be seen clearly if we look at text where all the linking devices have been removed. We'll then look at the same text with the linking devices put in, and you'll see the difference. The topic of the text is the history of feminism in Western countries. But don't worry if this topic is unfamiliar to you. Click continue when you've read the paragraph. Although the contents of this piece of writing are fine, the style is not. This passage sounds like a collection of bullet points, and there is no clear relationship between the different ideas. It has a kind of rat-a-tat-tat machine gun feel to it. A sort of, here's one fact, here's another fact, here's yet another fact. A paragraph of good academic writing should not feel like a series of facts, but rather a well-developed series of ideas which have a clear relationship. Now let's look at the same text but with the linking devices added in and highlighted. Click continue when you have reread the paragraph. As you will now hopefully be able to see, the difference is significant. The text flows much better and the relationship between the ideas is much clearer. Let's look at what each of the highlighted linking devices does and how this improves the quality of the writing. So firstly, whereas. This links contradictory ideas within the same sentence, i.e. it is able to contrast the focus of the first wave and second wave feminism within the same sentence. Specifically, shows that the following sentence is focusing on detail. Here, this means providing more details about what the de facto inequalities mentioned in the previous sentence refer to. Subsequently, shows a time relationship between the two sentences, in this case showing that the third wave of feminism followed on directly from the second wave. And since. This word shows a cause and effect link between 2 points. The effect, or result in this example, is that non-white and non-middle class women have been the focus of third wave feminism. The cause of this was their exclusion from the feminist debate. Thus, from just this short example, you can see how useful these linking devices can be. Now we've established this, we'll look at some more common examples of linking devices and the kind of relationships which they describe. We'll begin with the 4 categories represented by the examples we've just looked at. Whilst these categories can be helpful in terms of thinking about the different ways in which a text can be linked, you should not get too focused on them. It is more important to think about how you can use the specific words given. It should also be noted that some of the words and phrases can fall into more than one category. Take a moment now to brainstorm other linking devices you know, which could fit into these categories. When you've done this, click continue to go on. So, in the same category as whereas, in order to contrast different ideas, we find but, conversely, in comparison, in contrast, instead, on the contrary, on the one hand, on the other hand, and whilst. In order to show a sequence or relationship in time, we can use subsequently, after, before, when, while, as, until, at first, and firstly, secondly, thirdly. To show a cause and effect link, or a result, we might use since, accordingly, as a result, because or because of, consequently, for this reason, hence, otherwise, so or so that, therefore and thus. And lastly on this slide, to emphasize or highlight, not only can we use specifically, but also in fact or indeed. 4 more categories which linking devices can be divided into are as follows: to add information or reinforce information, to compare, to present alternatives, and to refer backwards in a text or forwards in a text. Again, take a moment now to think of other words which you think would fit into these categories, and then click Continue when you want to see these words revealed. So, in the first category here, adding or reinforcing information, as well as, besides, especially, furthermore, in addition, moreover, particularly, and to. To compare, we find also, both X and Y, correspondingly, equally, in the same way, similarly, likewise, and to. To present alternatives, alternatively, on the other hand, and then again. And finally, referring backwards or forwards in a text, as follows, as noted above, as stated previously. And thirdly, in this section, then we'll look at 4 more areas where linking devices can be used, 4 more functions of linking devices: to concede a point, to provide supporting information, to summarize or simplify, and for transition. Again, take a moment to think of words that you would put in these categories. So when we concede a point, we might use admittedly, although, despite, even if or even though, however, in spite of, nonetheless, nevertheless, and yet. In providing supporting information, for example, for instance, in this case, to illustrate this, and such as. To summarize or simplify, in brief, in conclusion, in other words, in short, in summary, on the whole, to conclude, and to sum up or summarize. And to for transition, regarding X, turning to X, or with regard or with respect to X. So, in summary of this lesson has focused on the importance of linking devices in academic speaking and writing. It has shown how texts which use them show a clear relationship between ideas and can make it easier to read and follow your arguments. Texts with few or no linking devices are choppy and difficult to read. 12 specific types of linking devices were also analysed, and these are presented in the table below. You are now encouraged to watch the next lesson in this series, which looks specifically at the grammar of linking devices so as to enable you to use them more accurately and effectively.